Hello, welcome back to the NFL DFS slate breakdown for Monday Night Football, December 18th. We got the Eagles at the Seahawks. Should be an interesting game. Only a 3.5 point spread, so should be a close game and a fun one to watch and play with some DFS. Now, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to our video. Helps us a ton to just keep giving out free content as we can. The more we feed that YouTube algo, the more we can give free content away. All right, now let's get into the slate here. 45 point total, 3.5 point favorites for the Eagles. The game is in Seattle. There's going to be a little bit of rain. I am in the Pacific Northwest, and it's not raining yet, but it is kind of cloudy and slowly getting more dark. But there's no wind right now, so that is the main thing that we need to watch for. A little bit of drizzle or sprinkles aren't a big thing, which is kind of the normal for the Pacific Northwest. Now, let's get into the slate. Position by position, we got quarterback. We'll start with Jalen Hurts and Drew Lock. It does look like Geno Smith will be out. Jalen Hurts has an illness, but it looks like he's going to gut it out and play. So we got a Jalen Hurts flu game and then Drew Lock. I think either interesting. We had Lock start last game and put up 17. I don't think having him over Geno really hurts the passing game. So I don't really mind if it's him or Geno playing here, but I think he's in a decent spot. The Eagles are pretty awful versus wide receivers and in the passing. Ranked 32nd over the last 4 weeks, and on the season, they're also 32nd. So I think Drew Lock is going to throw for plenty of yards and have his opportunities for some touchdowns. So I would say even though he's not Jalen Hurts, you should consider him as he is 2K less. Now Hurts, we know he has giant upside. Nobody has the upside he does. He gets the brotherly shove, quarterback touchdowns, which is huge, and he could also pass and do it all with his legs and everything. So obviously you are considering him. The Seahawks pass D is decent. However, their top corner Witherspoon is questionable, didn't practice all week, and their center safety Jamal Adams is questionable as well, and he didn't practice either. So that Seahawk secondary could get much worse than we're usually used to seeing. Over on FanDuel, Hurts is 4K more than Lock, so ownership is going to be a little bit suppressed because of that, but honestly, there's probably a good reason for that. Lock is nowhere near the upside as Hurts is. Lock does have the better matchup, though, that is for sure, as a ton of QBs have absolutely gone off versus the Eagles lately. Prescott 19, Purdy 32, Allen 43, Mahomes 18, Prescott 31, Howell 34. A lot of guys have been doing really well versus that Philly D. On to running back. So we got DeAndre Swift, who's getting the most ownership. Kenneth Walker is next. And then we have the backups there. We got Charbonnet and Gainwell, DJ Dallas, and Boston Scott. Now, Dallas and Boston Scott likely aren't going to get really any play outside of some crazy situation happening in this game, like an injury or just entirely one-sided, blowout that allows them to get in the game for a little bit in the fourth quarter. So the top 4 running backs are the ones you're really focusing on, and the top 2 are the guys that will actually get a lot of play. Charbonnet is kind of interesting, though. He did still get 10 touches last week with Walker back, so I do think he is still a little interesting. Gainwell really isn't touching the ball much, but he is involved a little bit around the red zone from time to time, so at least in consideration for that aspect. I do think Swift is clear-cut the best play. This Philly D run D is pretty solid, so I don't love going with Walker. I do think Swift is quite a bit better as a play than Walker. And on FanDuel, more of the same. Swift is way higher owned. He has the higher projection. All things are kind of in his favor. And on the matchup tool, you guessed it, Swift has the better matchup. Really, running backs have just been absolutely destroying and gashing Seattle week in and week out. And I think Swift can do the same thing. Over at wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Tyler Lockett are getting a bulk of the ownership, but Devonta Smith and DK Metcalf are right behind them. Both of these teams are kind of similar, where it is a 1A and a 1B, and you don't really know which one it's going to be from week to week. I do think that all guys are interesting. A.J. Brown, one thing to note is that the Eagles will be without Darius Slay, so that definitely helps both Lockett and Metcalf. I think both of them could have a good game, and it probably more so helps Lockett than Metcalf, as it looks like Slay will be on him quite a bit, or would have been on him. On the other side, if the Witherspoon is out, then it's going to hurt Seattle's secondary, as well as if Adams is out. Missing their safeties would hurt big time. So I really think that a lot of the wide receivers are interesting in this game. Any of them could have real big games. Devonta Smith likely has a little bit of a better matchup than A.J. Brown, but A.J. Brown is a total freak and, can beat anybody. So I don't mind going there. As far as the lower owned guys, I think JSN is the guy that it gets the most consistent work. But Quez Watkins is kind of interesting. He has only been back a couple weeks, has 4 targets for San Francisco. Outside of that, none. And Julio Jones really hasn't done much since Quez is back either. So I think either one of them are interesting. I don't really love Zacchaeus, but I think JSN, Julio, or Quez all could have a chance at a touchdown. And on FanDuel, A.J. Brown, A.J. Smith, or Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett are the higher ownership guys. So A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith getting all the ownership. We really, really should not forget about the Seattle guys on FanDuel. They are going a little too low owned when it is just an absolute slam matchup for them, especially if Slay is out, which just makes them worse. All in all, I think Seattle's probably going a little too low owned in this spot, and then pick your poison between A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Both are just fine. Matchup wise, Metcalf and JSN have the best matchups. Wide receiver ones have done very well versus Philly. With that being said, some wide receiver twos, or at least the good wide receiver twos, have done very well as well. And I would not, discredit them whatsoever. And as far as the Philly wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Smith kind of have very similar matchups. So don't really love one more than the other too much there. It's just going to be kind of who fits into your lineup in my eyes. So, tight end, we got Fant, Parkinson, Dallas Goedert, Will Dissly. Dallas Goedert clearly should be the highest owned guy. He is not coming in as that right now, and I find that kind of interesting. I do not mind some Dallas Goedert here at only 16% owned. Look, Seattle does have a weakness at tight end. Philly does too, so Fant is a little interesting here. But my issue with the tight ends of the Seahawks is they use all 3 guys, and you never really know which one it's going to be. So they're just a little harder to pick. Now, Goddard is the guy, and I do like him in this matchup. On to FanDuel. Dallas Goedert is highest owned by a ton. At a way lower ownership, Fant is a little bit more interesting here on FanDuel to me. And Fant has the better matchup, 31st versus tight end, and Goddard is 23rd versus tight end. So both very, very good matchups. Kicker-wise, obviously kickers are pretty much always in play. Just kind of roll the dice to pick out which one, as they're both in decent spot, both decent kickers. Don't mind either of them. And then defensively, I think you got to side with the Eagles here, especially with the Seahawks potential injuries, and we know the Seahawks want to just run the ball. And that's not going to be, they're not going to be able to. And it's going to let the Philly pass rushers really try to get it after lock. And if that happens, it could get ugly. But all in all, I got to side with the Eagles D. And I would have a little bit of consideration for them on both sides, really. So that'll do it for us, guys. You guys have a good one, and I will be back later this week with the Thursday night video here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.